Yes, the very recognizable Meet the Press theme. If it's Sunday, of course, it's Meet the Press. And if it's Friday, of course, it's Chuck Todd, the great moderator of Meet the Press with Bernie and Sid. Chuck is also on daily, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MTP Daily on MSNBC. Long-running friendship and a great job on this show every Friday morning. Chuck Todd, welcome back, pal. How are you?
I'm great. I'm disappointed in these Yankees, though, man. If the Nationals are going to the World Series, we want to go to the Yankees. You don't want to go to the Astros.
Well, let me just say this. I'm glad you started there before we get to Mick Mulvaney and quid pro quos and Turkey and Syria and all that nasty stuff. I do have to apologize. You had asked me about a certain game last week. You're a diehard Washington National fan. I told Bernie that. You actually love the Nats. You're one of about 5 people. And you asked me about a game last week between the Dodgers and the Nationals, and my quote to you was, there's a better chance Beto O'Rourke will win the Democratic nomination than the Nationals beat the Dodgers. So I guess Beto's about to win.
President O'Rourke, who knew, huh? Who knew?
How exciting is that? I know all you guys like David Gregory and Brett Baer and you're all big Washington National fans.
Well, because, we don't have much here in Washington, right? It's sort of, come on, it's been an S show for us lately, number one. Number two, everybody always says, oh, they're from somewhere else and all of this stuff. When this franchise was born in 2005, right, it was sort of ours, right? It feels like, we got to make our own tradition, if that makes any sense. And my son, this is all he's known. And he's rabid. I mean, he's rabid the way I was rabid as a kid about the Dodgers. So it's kind of nice, but I get it. I know why other cities sit there and say, oh, there's no real fan base there. There's no this. You know what? It's starting to get there. It felt pretty damn good. And it felt like being at a Hurricanes championship game in the 80s. And that was kind of nice. It just was,
Chuck, we're all from someplace else, right? I mean,
right, we're all from
come on.
someplace else.
The L.A. Dodgers were from Brooklyn, for
That's
God's
right.
sakes. I mean, just get over that. So
it's America.
It is. Right. It's America. Go Nats. I'm with you. Nats, Astros, I don't care. As long as the Yankees are not there. That's all I'm saying. Hey, listen, Chuck, to the meat, the substance of the political stuff yesterday. This Mick Mulvaney thing, it seems like the Democrats and the people in the media are hanging their hats on something he said yesterday, admitting that there was a quid pro quo, allegedly. What do you think about all that?
I was just surprised at what Mulvaney said. And I think that the question I have, because the thing you never know in the Trump White House is this Mulvaney on his own? Is this testing the trial balloon? Is this something the president said, go out there and do this? Did he go, was he only supposed to talk about the Doral decision? That's the part of this that I'd like to know, because a lot of times you got to know who, did he go out there on his own or did he go out there after talking with the president? And I think that's a question. But, it did look like they were debuting a new defense, right? Which is to say, well, we didn't ask about Biden, but we asked about 16, which seems to fit another pattern in these controversies involving the president, which is full denial at first, and then there becomes this, well, it wasn't this, but it might have been this, and if it wasn't, there's this.
Well, the crux of the charge.
Let's be honest, it's hard to figure out what's true.
The basis for the impeachment charge is that the president was meddling in the 2020 election by going after, digging dirt, as the media likes to use, digging dirt on his presidential opponent. And so nothing Mick Mulvaney said yesterday admitted to any of that. In fact, quite the opposite.
Look, what I sort of am stunned that the chief of staff of the president of the United States admitted that they held up money to pursue a conspiracy theory. I mean, like a crazy conspiracy theory that has no basis in fact whatsoever. That this idea that Ukraine and not Russia hacked the email.
Well, let me ask you this question.
So it's just sort of. I mean, I don't know why more folks aren't troubled that the president of the United States traffics in debunked conspiracy theories.
Well, that's what the Democrats did for about 2.5 years. The Trump-Russia collusion conspiracy theory. So now he believes that it was maybe the Ukraine. My question to you is, why didn't the DNC go to the FBI when their emails were hacked? Why did they go to a cybersecurity company in the Ukraine to solve that problem.
Bernie, they did go to the FBI and they went to that.
Well, why did they give the server to the site
read the Mueller,
Ukrainian?
Go read the Mueller report, dude. Go read the Mueller report. I'm not debating the conspiracy.
You said because they didn't. They went to a Ukrainian company, and that's what the president. They went to CrowdStrike.
It's not a Ukrainian company. I mean, will you stop?
It is. It's owned by Ukrainians.
No, it's not. It's owned by a guy who was born in the Ukraine when he was 2. Good grief.
They're Ukrainians, and Bob Mueller said it was not in my purview, and the president wants to get to the bottom of what happened in 2016, which is what you guys want. Up until the Mueller report fizzled,
I'm not engaging in this Ukraine conversation because it's a rabbit hole.
Okay, well, there you go, because it's a fact. They went to Ukrainian cybersecurity and said, hey, can you find out who hacked our email instead of the FBI?
They went to the FBI as well.
Well, let me ask you this, Chuck, on a Biden note for a second. We often take President Trump to task, and I'm with you sometimes that he certainly puts himself in these positions. I was the first one on this show to say he never should have mentioned Biden during that phone call. I don't think it's illegal. I don't think he should be impeached, but at the very least it was stupid. But you got to admit that if you're looking at this rationally right down the middle, and you've got the vice president's son making a ton of money in this country for a company where he's got zero experience. And now it turns out it's not just Ukraine, it's China too. Isn't that a bit untoward? Just as untoward as what we're accusing President Trump of?
Oh, I don't think it's anywhere close, number one. I mean, look, we're going to sit here. You want to have a political campaign about the idea that the sons and daughters of presidents and vice presidents and members of Congress are making money off of their parents? I mean, where do you want to stop that? Ivanka Trump, Rand Paul.
Okay. They were doing that before they were in office.
We could go down that road.
Well, let me ask you this, and
which mess them up. But
that's fine.
But the bigger issue, the bigger issue is here to me is this idea that he is using foreign policy decisions in order to enhance his personal political standing or problems. And that's the difference. He's not pushing American interest, he's pushing Trump interest.
Okay, but
that is what this is about.
I got you, Chuck. So if it's so obvious that this man committed a crime, and I've seen everybody from Adam Schiff, Tarek Swalwell this week, not present this as an investigation, as a potential crime. It's a crime as far as they're concerned. Well, if that's the case...
I'm not going to answer for their rhetoric. I mean, I agree that some people use too much rhetoric, but this is, my God, there's so much smoke. What is happening in Turkey and Syria, I mean, I kind of think these two investigations should merge because the two most important foreign policy objectives of the Russian government were Ukraine and Syria, and for some reason, this president always seems to want to implement the foreign policy that Russia wants us to have on Ukraine and Syria.
Well, if all that's true, why won't Pelosi just
I'm just asking that question.
No, I understand you. So then why doesn't Pelosi just take this to a vote and move this forward like we've seen before?
I think the vote. I think this vote is a. I think this is a vote that nobody wants to. The irony is, I don't think Republicans want to go on the record on this vote. Not the entire Republican caucus. I know there's some Democrats that don't want to go on this vote. I don't know why. Put it on the record. Everybody already is making assumptions anyway about where everybody is. So I kind of think this is a silly hill to die on for the Democrats. And frankly, I think it's a silly sort of line in the sand for the Republicans can draw, because Democrats will likely call the bluff. Then what do they do, right? If they formalize this, then what's their excuse for not cooperating? So I kind of think everybody here is holding the line on this silly vote thing over something that I think that
it's not silly.
Kind of
it's not silly at all. It's dead serious. They should have a vote. Democracy dies in darkness. Chuck, you've heard that before. These closed door meetings and cherry picking exchanges.
I mean,
it's terrible.
Put the vote on. I mean, they're not doing it because they claim they don't need to legally. I don't see why everybody seems to be on the record anyway.
Well,
so
yeah, exactly. What are they trying to hide?
What's wrong with doing it? I agree. I don't understand it. Put everybody on the record here. Do you think the president should be investigated or not?
He's being investigated.
Get that.
Yeah. But he's entitled. He's entitled to defend himself as well. I mean, give him that. At the very least, let the public see what's going on.
Right, and they have been. There have been Republican lawyers and Republican questions and Republican everything. I mean, this has been conducted as in an even mannered when it comes to the questioning.
Hey, Chuck, speaking of questioning, let me ask you this. The debate the other night, and it seems like the press is running interference for the Bidens. Listen to Anderson Cooper ask Joe Biden a question.
The impeachment inquiry is centered on President Trump's attempts to get political dirt from Ukraine on Vice President Biden and his son Hunter. Mr. Vice President, President Trump has falsely accused your son of doing something wrong while serving on a company board in Ukraine. I want to point out there's no evidence of wrongdoing by either one of you.
You think that's appropriate to ask a question that way if you're a moderator at a supposedly objective debate?
I don't. Everything he uttered there was a fact. What did he utter?
No, it's not.
Because the President of the United States has implied
falsely
that
accused
Joe Biden and Hunter Biden did something illegal. There's nothing illegal that Hunter Biden did.
Nobody knows yet.
Remotely legal. No, there's nothing there. There's nothing illegal.
Nobody's investigating.
If there was something illegal, the FBI would be investigating.
Well, they may still do that.
Investigating. We don't sit here and farm out investigative work to the Ukraine.
But you don't see the appearance of bias in that question at all? I mean, let Joe Biden say that. Let Joe Biden say it.
Listen to Sean Hannity all day long.
Let Joe Biden say it.
I don't get what you're saying. Our job is not to pass on unverified, knowing false information. So you throw out there, look, that question, that is true. Nothing's been done illegal. I think this is a perfectly legitimate, ethical, political argument. Okay? But there's a large difference between criminalizing politics, which is the everyday, whatever Jared Kushner and Hunter Biden do, that's shady. We can sit here and say they got away with it because they knew people, because they were related to people in power. That there's no doubt that there's an ethical argument to be made there. But to use the power of the presidency and to try to create the illusion that a crime was committed when there wasn't one, that's abuse of power.
It's on tape.
All right, fair enough. 60 seconds to go here, Chuck. Tell me this, or tell us this, I should say. If you watch 4 of these debates now, and again, this comes from zero bias, I'm sitting there right down the middle, just watching the show, if you will. Relatively unimpressed by all 12 now through 4 debates. Maybe this is a time for Mayor Bloomberg to jump in. Maybe it's a time for Hillary Clinton to reconsider. I don't know. But if you're going to be honest about this, I know you are, there's no way you can tell me after these 4 debates that any one of these folks has really knocked their socks off.
Oh, I think this campaign has overall hurt the Democrats, not helped, right?
You do.
When you look at the sustained. Because, first of all, a primary campaign, but, we were also saying the same thing during the debates on the Republican side. These primary campaigns expose sort of the worst elements of the parties, right? At times, right? You put on, you're like, oh, whoa, you're not supposed to see that guy out in front. You're not supposed to see that woman out in front. They're the ones that are in the back of the room. They show up all the time to volunteer, but please, we don't want to put you in front of the camera. You'll scare the middle, But my point is that these primary campaigns, I think, stir up the worst images and the pandering to the bases that you see. So I do think here we are in the middle of it, and I get why you have that perception. I think it happens at any point in this primary campaign. I do think in hindsight the Democrats started their debate process too early, because I do think that's the other thing you're sort of expressing, and I've heard from others, which is sort of, I've seen this show. God, they keep repeating it. Isn't there a new angle to this show?
Yeah, it's really.
It just is coming across a bit repetitive. I mean, I'm sorry. I know I know all of their Medicare for All arguments. I can do the debate there. I'll stand in for all of them. I know Elizabeth Warren won't answer this question. I know Pete Buttigieg will do this. I mean, it is becoming, it's like we don't like to watch the same episode over and over again of any TV show. And I do think the 4th debate here felt like, I've seen this episode.
There's no
this episode a couple of times, and now they're making it 3 hours.
Yeah,
what?
Too long.
Hey, Chuck, we're out of time, but Chuck Todd, you're a good sport to put up with us, so we appreciate you appearing with us on Meet the Press.
Oh, Bertie, I know.
Who do you have coming up on Sunday? Anybody great?
Anybody great?
Of course. Besides yourself.
Buttigieg, we will have on the show.
Good.
As well, but I'm waiting on to see who gets back from Turkey in time.
All right.
Good one. You should get Dave Martinez on, the manager of the Nationals. So
and Dave Martinez. By the way, man, that dude got a heart condition. That's how intense this season
I know, Bernie's back. Hey, listen, we love you. You did a great job again. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you very much. All right. Check out Chuck Todd on a daily basis. MTP Daily, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. And, of course, Sunday mornings on the Big Daddy Network, NBC, on Meet the Press. Hour 1 in the books. So much more to do. More of Bernie and Sid on a Friday, right after these short messages.